Dudes and dudettes, how are you guys? This is Chazzy and welcome back to The Mixer, the segment on this channel where I give you guys all sorts of detailed analyses from all walks of life. I'll talk about people, places, animals, food, sports, traveling, the whole 9 yards, hence why it's called The Mixer, because I mix things up in this huge playlist here with over 200 videos at this point. My god, that is a lot of mixering. And today's video is going to be something really interesting and cool because I've actually covered this topic about 2 or so years ago at this point, maybe a little more. I did this back when my channel was different, my background was different, the recording process was different, the editing, everything was so topsy-turvy, you know. And who would have thought that all these years later I would be coming back with the same exact shirt, by the way. If you go back and watch that video the first time, I'm wearing the same shirt. I still have it and I'm wearing it today because I'm remaking that video with more modern day, you know, knowledge and science and biology and YouTubing prowess resources and things. I don't know, man. Today I'm gonna talk about bees, man. I'm gonna talk about the bees. We're gonna have the birds and the bees talk here because you guys might not know that without bees we would all die. I'm not exaggerating, we would all literally perish because bees are literally the most important animal species on this planet. There are a few that, you know, can sort of, you know, turn the tide of humanity on its head, you know. As much as I hate to admit it, cockroaches are also important because they eat the sewage and waste, you know, and the underground sewers and stuff, and, you know, leopards because they eat the capybaras and this and that, you know. There are quite a few different animals that are very, very important in nature for population control, you know. And in the case of bees, they are actually very, very fundamental to our agriculture. So basically, if all bees just completely evaporated, you know, vanished from the face of the earth over the next 24 hours, you know, literally disappear from one day to the other, we would start to have very, very severe collateral fallout, you know, in just a matter of a few hours and then days, and before you know it, the world as we know it would come to an end. It seems very dramatic, and that's because it is. I'm a YouTuber. It's my job to be over dramatic and act out things that aren't exactly how they should be here, anything with the stuff, and in this case it's not. In this case, it really, really is something that is scientifically proven, man, because bees are, well, it's kind of ironic for me to say this because you guys should know that I hate insects. I despise them. I talked about that in a video several videos ago at this point, you know, under another cycle here on my channel. But at the same time that I hate insects, I also love animals, you know, but I sort of, you know, I'm a little bit more partial to the mammals, you know, and whether they're aquatic or terrestrial. I like mammals, you know, but I'm just not a big fan of insects. That's just how it is. I understand how ironic it is, you know. There are some vegans out there that love insects, but I don't. But bees are different. Bees are the one insect that I do not squash. I do not kill them when I see them, you know, in my household. Although one of them did sting me once and it really freaking hurt. It was in my finger, man. Actually, no. 2 bees stung me. One was in my foot and it burned. The other one was here in my finger and it hurt a little less, but still, you guys get the idea. I'm going to be dissecting the importance of bees for, you know, human society as the video goes on. But first, let's take a look at some photos of cute little honeybees here. You know, looking at those photos, it's probably easy to forget that a bunch of those things swarming and stinging you can literally kill you, especially if you're allergic. It's not a very pleasant way to go. Poor little Macaulay Culkin in that movie where he was literally killed by a bunch of bees stinging him all over the face. But anyways, so in case you guys don't know, a little bit of a fun scientific fact for you here. There are currently, as far as science knows, over 20,000 known species of bees across 7 different biological families. Now, some of them live in colonies, you know, they are social, they have their queen and they have the little worker bees working together, but it is estimated that upwards of 90% of bee species are solitary, so they do all of the pollination by themselves, you know. Speaking of pollination, right now, as far as we know, at the very least 1/3 of the world's food supply needs pollination by certain animals, most of which is done by bees, right? Other insects and bats do it too, but bees are the most important ones, and normally it's the western honeybee that does most of the pollination because they produce honey that we eat. And even though we technically steal the honey from the bees, it is still very important for our agriculture, you know, because bees are responsible for 70% of the world's agriculture. That is a staggering figure, man. That means that if bees didn't exist, 70% of our food supply would be wiped out, you know? How does it work exactly? It's kind of like a domino effect, right? The bees pollinate the plants because essentially it's kind of like how the plants reproduce, you know, because, you know, the bee kind of grabs the pheromones from the male plant and then spreads it to the female plant, which in turn fertilizes them, something like that. I don't know, I'm not a science teacher, I'm just a freaking YouTuber talking about bees, alright? But basically, bees are responsible for helping the plants to reproduce so they can pollinate, you know, and that is the process that allows us to eventually, you know, grow our food, our crops on farms, then sell them to markets, you know. That's essentially the way that it works. And to put an even more of a staggering figure on that, it is estimated that out of every 3 plants, out of every 3 types of plants, Jesus Christ, what is wrong with me today? It is estimated that 2 out of every 3 types of plants need pollination to survive, you know, and procreate essentially. So that's how it works in a nutshell, right? Now, what happens is that bees are there for every single process of our growing food supply. So basically they pollinate the plants, you know, and the flowers. Then certain animals eat the plants or the flowers, and we eventually eat these animals, you know. So everything comes back to the bees. You know, they produce the honey, they produce a lot of the material that we actually need for our I was gonna say ailments, but I don't think it's the right word, for our food basically, you know. So essentially they are always there in nature, pretty much preserving the biological balance that we have, you know, because nature represents a perfect balance that a lot of humans don't see in our society. So everything in nature, the population control, the animal, the predators, the prey, everything works perfectly well, especially the pollination cycle, the photosynthesis with the plants, everything comes together, and insects like bees are very responsible for maintaining that balance. Especially when we have beekeepers, you know, who kind of essentially harvest their honey. But in a way, I'm kind of against that. I think we should just let them be in nature. But whether they are in the wild or, you know, domesticated, bees are always producing honey, and honey is very essential for our survival, as well as the other agriculture that we produce throughout the world, especially in more rural areas in America. So, I mean, it's crazy, man. If you really stop to think about it, like if the bees suddenly die, they won't pollinate the flowers or the plants, then the plants and the flowers will die. Then the animals, the livestock, won't have the plants, you know, and the flowers to eat. So then the predators that eat them won't have them to eat, and then eventually it's gonna come back to us, you know. Have you ever seen the Bee movie? That movie sucked. It was okay, it was good in a way until you break it down and figure out that it's actually a bee trying to get with the human. But the message behind the movie was really good in my opinion. If you can get past all of the very cringy bee puns, you know, that movie has a very good message about what would happen if bees just stopped pollinating and producing honey, you know. And before I continue and give you guys a little bit more of a scientific background here in my own personal analysis, why don't we take a look at a little clip here of some bees buzzing around or something.
Plants want the bees to carry the pollen away and spread it to other flowers. That's pollination, how plants reproduce. But bees also need to carry lots of it home. Pollen is a protein-packed food for the hive.
Beekeeping is something that has been practiced for many millennia, ever since the days of ancient Egypt and ancient Greece. Human beekeeping has always been very popular and very essential for our survival as a species ourselves. However, over the last half century, there has been a steadily decline in the richness of bee species in the wild, including the factors include but are not limited to the stress, you know, from increased parasites and disease, the use of pesticides in the wild, and a general decrease in the number of wildflowers in general, and climate change also very likely, you know, worsens the problem. So essentially, bees are out there in the ecosystem, you know, pollinating the flowering plants because they are responsible for a lot of this, you know, especially in the places where there are these kinds of plants. If you go into a meadow or a garden, you see a lot of different kinds of flowering plants that seem to be proliferating. You can be sure that there are bees there pollinating the area. In fact, be careful. You should be careful because bees aren't very kind to humans, you know. I mean, we do have a very strong relationship with them, but they don't really like us very much, you know. Like if a bee stings you, it releases this pheromone, or rather if you step on it, you know, something of the sort, it releases this pheromone, almost like this toxin in the air that will send a signal to the other bees in the area to come and swarm you. So if you ever find yourself in a place where you accidentally killed a bee, maybe run in the other direction or something, you know. This is why I don't like to kill bees here in my neighborhood, because, you know, they really embrace this mindset of if you mess with one of us, you mess with all of us, you know. So whenever I see a bee, I try to blow it away, you know, kind of like swat at it with a cloth just to kind of make the wind throw it away, you know. I don't like to kill them unless it's like a last resort, like I don't know, man. Sometimes the bee will back me up into a corner and I'm gonna have to self-defend myself against a stupid bee, like the Bee movie, you know, with the little needle freaking sparring against Barry. But still, man, I mean, it's just a lot better if you don't kill them, you know. Like if you're the kind of person who sees a beehive, you know, hanging from a tree and you throw a rock at it, then you deserve to get stung, you know. Just leave them alone and they'll leave you alone. That's kind of how nature works, you know. When it comes to wild animals, if you leave them alone, they will usually leave you alone. Unless it's a predator, then usually you're pretty much just screwed anyway. But bees are not naturally dangerous to humans, you know. One sting can hurt, but if you're allergic, the damage would be a lot worse, you know. And it depends. If a lot of them sting you at once, that's why beekeeping is such a dangerous job. And I would never work as a beekeeper ever. I would never go anywhere near a bee farm. I don't even think those are ethical, you know, from an animal preservation standpoint. But still, you know, there has been more and more decline of bee species over the years, which obviously is going to affect our agriculture for the years to come. But the interesting thing about bees is that they are the only living species on the planet that cannot carry or transmit any diseases. So it's not like the dengue mosquito or rodents, you know, like squirrels and rats. I'm not sure if you guys know this, but squirrels and rats are very similar, you know. The only thing that changes is the physical appearance. You know, the squirrel looks a little cuter, but those animals, like, or for example pigeons as well, they can carry diseases that are very harmful to humans. So bees can't, you know. Like I said, the only harm that they can pose is if you happen to be allergic to their toxin, you know, so that's actually going to kill you. But they don't carry diseases. They're like the cleanest animal on the planet, you know. It's freaking insane. But it's crazy, dude. But they're also kind of like, you know, nature's kamikaze, because they will come at you and sting you and the stinger breaks off and they die. I'm actually not sure if that's scientifically accurate or if it's been disproven, but I think that's how it works. When it stings you, it loses the stinger, so it pretty much kills itself just so it can, you know, try to take you down. You, a humongous giant who poses no threat to it at all unless you're, I don't know. But still, that's just how it is, man. I'm not sure where this video was going towards the end here, but I just wanted to re-record this topic. I think it's really interesting. Maybe some of the information is outdated, but I try to do a little bit of research and seems to me like it's pretty okay, you know. And I got through my cheat sheet here, you know, did quite a few things, and it doesn't really seem like there's anything else I can say, you know, except please preserve the bees. Please help them to continue supplying us, you know, with the pollination, giving us food, because if you don't, we're all gonna die here, man. If the bees disappeared from the planet, we would follow suit very quickly. So if you ever see a bee, leave it alone. Don't kill them. Let's help to preserve these bees, you know. There was this controversy that happened here in Brazil some years ago where the government released this agrotoxin that killed 500 million freaking bees, man. You know, I mean, I really don't want that to happen again. I don't want that to happen anywhere else in the world. Let's let the bees just, you know, do their thing, leave them alone and let nature take its course, eh? But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. You know, it's been a while since I've recorded a vlog. I've just been trying to focus on gameplays and getting a better microphone here and there, working on the community tab. But still, I'm going to be coming back today, doing some cool stuff for you guys. So hopefully you'll be here for the ride. And if you happen to like this video, please go ahead and give it a like and also subscribe to my channel, because I release videos every single day. And while you're at it, hit the notification bell too, so you can know exactly what time I upload. And it's all good. It's all good. I'm very impressed with myself for having recorded this all in one sitting. Barely any retakes or reshoots to make it sound more fancy. So this is Chazzy signing out for now, and as always, I will see you guys in the next video. Roll the outro screen.